Okay, now that we have a black and white treatment that we're happy with, we are going to save it as an EPS on its own. So to do that, I just turn off these background layers that I don't need. So I just have the font on its own, the black and white font treatment. And I'm going to say File, Save As, an EPS to the desktop. And instead of it being my illustration, this is going to be my MLK text final, black and white. Save as an EPS. That way we can use it as a smart layer within Photoshop. And let me show you how that works. So now it's saved to the desktop as just its own EPS logo type. I'm going to open up my PSD illustration. Which is at a high enough resolution to print, and it's got my black and white line work and my color version in there. And now I'm just going to add in my logo type just to play around with some color options. So first off, let's bring this in. I just drag it from the desktop, drop it on top. You see how it's transparent in the right places. I'm going to increase my canvas size a little bit. Let me place it first. So image, canvas size, give me a little bit more space to work with. And there it is as a smart vector. Now what's nice is even though it's a smart vector, I can see what it looks like on black. Let me extend my black range here to cover it. And it looks okay. My dove doesn't look so great, but that shows up fine. You can see how it looks on gray. And of course I can see what it looks like on white. Now if it works on all three, that means it will work on any color. And my text does, even though my design doesn't, but my color design, I turn that on. Let's see, here it is. My color design, how does that work with it? So that works okay. Now, even though it's a smart layer, I can do things just like I can with my black and white. I can add strokes. So I put kind of a drop shadow behind that dove so it works on different colors. But if I wanted more, I can double click on it and add a stroke right in Photoshop. Like so. So many options. And I can do that same thing here. I can play with drop shadows. I can play with inner shadow, outer glow, inner glow, bevel and emboss, color overlays, satin textures, gradient fills, all these options. But that's how you're going to use your EPS to eventually make your poster. You know, bring all those things together and decide if you want to use effects or not. Okay, so now we put it all together And we're going to give a color version in Illustrator. So now that I have my EPS, my black and white EPS is there, it's safe. I save this PSD with all these different options built in. I'm going to go back to Illustrator, and I'm going to work on a color version of this text treatment. And what I do is I simply select everything that's showing, copy it, go over to the color version in my text options, select that, and then paste in place. So now here it is with my color. And now I'm going to make a copy of it again. That's my black and white version. I'm going to call this color text options. Turn off the black and white, paste in place again to give myself one to play with in color. Now the first thing I can do is I can pick a color for everything. I can even do a gradient if I want. So maybe I want this kind of orange to yellow gradient. Right now I just have orange, that's what it looks like. But if I do the orange to yellow gradient on everything, I'm going to use the gradient tool. I need to get it to allow me to do a gradient, which can be tricky sometimes. I can change the angle of that gradient, like so. I can choose the transparency of that gradient. And figure out how I want it to look on a poster, say. I don't know if I need that orange outline. You can move different groups on top of each other. Until you find something you like. One of my favorite tricks is to do an overlay that's a gradient, so you would select, for instance, these black letters, make a copy of them, paste in place. Then while they're selected, you fill them with a gradient. and you make it transparent. Come on. So that the gradient works on top of it a little bit. There we go. The only thing I don't like is that orange stroke, so I'm going to get rid of that. But it's in it a few places, which is frustrating. So text can get pretty complicated. There we go. So this will teach you a lot about kind of finding your layers and how to work with them. If you want to play with full color options in your gradients, you have to make sure that Illustrator gives you that option. And so often what you need to do is actually select everything. I have to do this more often than I would like. Select absolutely everything, copy it, make a new file, with just a print profile, and because you paste in place objects that are already full color, it should give you all of those color options in building it. Oh, didn't look like it copied everything over though. Is there anything locked? No, it should all be the same. There we go. So now if I select certain elements like this, and I go to gradient, I'll have a variety of types I can use. And if I want to kind of match this gradation, I'm going to throw out a lot of these greens. Just keep these more fiery types. Maybe make it an angle that's more up and down, 90-degree angle. And let's expand that a little bit. So starting with yellow. Slowly going to the orange. Yeah. All right. And if you want, you can isolate certain elements. So I can take the 2015, for instance, and maybe make that in the purple gradations. You just play with it until you're happy with it. So there's my finished design, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn off everything, and then save it as an EPS, and then I'm all set.